When I think about first person shooter RPGs, my thoughts always go straight to Deus Ex. There's a lot of games to choose from when it comes to that franchise. Today, we're going to be going over not exactly my favorite from the legacy, but still an absolute banger, Deus Ex Human Revolution. I played Human Revolution first on the Xbox 360, and of course later on the PC. I loved the first Deus Ex very much, and it was a real mind opener for me. At that time, I didn't know that a first-person shooter could have RPG elements baked into it, but the original really was a trailblazer for all those first-person RPGs to come. While the first game in the franchise was groundbreaking and a bit awkward to play, honestly, I believe that Human Revolution was a distilled version of the best parts of the first and second games of the franchise. My expectations were sky high when I fired up Deus Ex Human Revolution for the first time all those years ago. I, like a lot of other red-blooded Americans, had purchased the Xbox 360 when it came out. I mean, fresh off the line, and suffered severely from my passion for, at the time, cutting-edge new games. As you might imagine, I'm talking about the dreaded plague that affected thousands of Xbox 360 owners. The Red Ring of Death. My Xbox 360 shit itself within about 6 months of my purchase. The fucking console coughed, rolled over, and died. Back in that time, I was running a lawn crew with my brother and, made some pretty good money, but not enough to just outright buy another Xbox 360. So, for a 20-something-year-old, that was pretty devastating. I had worked so hard to get that fucking Xbox, and of course my trust in the Microsoft Corporation was sadly misplaced. I didn't get that protection plan. Save some money for some more games. Well, that bit me directly in the ass. My 360 was down for a good 2 months before I saw online that people were wrapping their consoles with a towel and leaving them on to cook, so that the solder joints inside the unit would melt and resync. This was the poor man's way to send the 360 back through a solder bath again, and have the chips inside make connection again. Of course, that was the down-and-out desperation thinking on my part. I mean, my console was already broken, and it wasn't getting any more broken, so fuck it, I took it apart and put the motherboard in the oven and made my brother's house smell like burning electronics for like a week. When I put it back together again, I was shocked. It had worked, like a fallen warrior rising from the ashes. And then it was straight back to Gears of War for me at that time. Somehow, that console made it through alive all the way to the release of Deus Ex Human Revolution. The game came out on August 11th, 2011. My first kid was born and my other kid was just around the corner, so life was really getting into gear for me. I was still a big-time gamer dad back then, still am today, although I don't go out and get the games directly upon release like I used to. I was 25 at the time and wasn't really ready for what Eidos Montreal and Square Enix were about to drop on me. I remember that a lot of people talked a lot of shit about Deus Ex 2, but I absolutely loved the game, and I was amped up for another release in the franchise. I played Deus Ex 2 on the original Xbox, and it seemed like the next logical step in the series to me. There just weren't that many first-person RPGs out there at the time, so I ate that shit up like candy-flavored amphetamines. And at the time, I was probably burnt out a little bit on Fallout 3 and New Vegas, so I was ready for another first-person RPG. Hard to believe, I know, but there is a point in my life when I had played through enough Fallout that it was time for something else to come along. At that time, I was working for a giant life insurance megacorporation, and I absolutely hated my life and where it was going. Like, if I have to go into that place one more time, I'm gonna fucking lose it! My job was making me absolutely miserable. But when you've got a kid and another one on the way, you tend to make a sacrifice and just do the best you can with what you have. And if you couldn't tell by now, I'm not an inside work, relaxed business dress kind of guy. I like to work hard and do physical labor with physical results. It's just in my blood, I suppose. Something my dad had passed down to me through genetics. God, I wish I was half as tough as that son of a bitch was. He was one of those jack-of-all-trades guys, and for as much as I can say, I've tried to be that kind of guy myself. I kind of know a little bit about everything, which can be a curse because once people learn that you're a handyman, they start asking you for help with, well, fucking everything. Anyway, I've moved on to bigger and better things, but quitting that life insurance gig was the best day of my life. I suppose I could always use more money, though. That would make me happier. Whoa, man, getting off topic here, a little sidetracked. Anyways, my first impressions of the game were shock and awe, honestly. It was amazing to me what the Xbox 360 was still capable of at that time. Kinda still impressed me today, to be honest. Maybe I'm just stuck in the past. I know that there are a lot of purist detractors who still get all up in arms about the story or setting of the game, but I always try to keep an open mind when it comes to the evolution of a game franchise. Games, movies, and stories should evolve, and to be bitter about something that changes is not gonna do you any damn good in my opinion. It's gonna stay changed whether you want it to or not. You're just gonna miss out on a good time while you're pissing and moaning about how things used to be or how something should be. So I went into the story and setting of Deus Ex with good intentions and a can-do attitude, and the previous versions floating through my mind, but I didn't let it color my perceptions of what the game should be. Thankfully, I was blindsided by what the game was actually like. A pleasant surprise, really. The graphics of Deus Ex Human Revolution are wonderful, if you ask me, which I know you didn't. Everything is a treat to look at, in the world and in the cutscenes. Well, not so much the NPCs, to be honest. They really do have a little bit of a plastic look, in my opinion. But the environments and world are really cool to explore and just generally exist in. I especially liked what the designers did with the different kinds of light sources in the game. I mean, as a former construction worker, I would lose my absolute shit if I had to install these lighting fixtures they have, but they look cool nonetheless. The different offices and downtown city streets you get to play through are really neat, but they could have added a bit more clutter or NPCs to interact with, in my opinion. The atmosphere is missing some things like, people. Oh well. For me, the real meat and potatoes of Human Revolution is the gameplay. I love how the game plays and how it flows. It has really great controls, and the gameplay loop of combat, stealth is definitely satisfying for me. I like that I can choose to go in guns blazing or slowly work my way through the level, neutralizing goons with close combat takedowns and pistol headshots. And there's about 1 million different ways that you can take on an objective in most levels. There are multiple paths, or if you have the right augmentation upgrades, you can break directly through fucking walls, or move a trash dumpster to jump over a fence, or just hack the security wherever you need to go. Or just go on an all-out warpath if you have enough supplies to take on a bunch of bad dudes. I have different weapon favorites for different playstyles, of course. If I'm going for a stealth playthrough, it's going to be the pistol with all the mods I can get on it, except for the fucking laser sight. For some reason, I just can't get used to it. It always feels like I lose some accuracy when I equip it. And of course, I use those augmented hands and arms to take down the baddies. The takedown system in Deus Ex is super useful when you apply it properly and quite satisfying for infiltration. Now, when I'm going for full-on assault, there's a cornucopia of extra loud and dangerous weapons to choose from. My top 3 are going to be the assault rifle, sniper rifle, and submachine gun in that order. There's some kind of strange catharsis about going as loud as you can in a stealth game. Like, I'm breaking all the rules but getting away with it. Anyway, the opposite side of things, I'm not a big fan of the shotguns and non-lethal weapons in the game. For me, they just don't feel satisfying to use. Nothing in Deus Ex compares to a headshot with a pistol, and the target just drops like a 200-pound sack of bad guy turds. On PC, when I first fired the game up, I noticed that the controls for sticking to the wall for added stealth was mapped to the right mouse button, and the iron sight was mapped to the scroll wheel. I immediately threw up a little bit and then changed this. Now, when I play, the iron sight is mapped to the right mouse button, and the stealth wall hug is mapped to the Z key. A little awkward to use with a stealth run, but definitely a gain for an assault run, which is my preferred playstyle these days. I've played through the main quest in the game so many times using stealth that it feels refreshing to just go in gunning everybody down. Now that I've played the game with a mouse and keyboard, I do have to say that when it comes to stealth games, a gamepad will always be superior to a keyboard when it comes to moving slowly while sneaking. But of course, a good old mouse and keyboard will always be better for aiming. So it's always between the console and the PC side of things. It's just win some and lose some. Hacking in-game is, of course, a minigame. God almighty, could you imagine if the game set it up so that you had to do actual hacking to get through security? Like, to get through this door, you have to get around the door's digital rights management. Fuck that. My fucking brain would explode. But the minigame is fun and produces just the right amount of anxiety when the system is trying to boot you out and you have to haul ass to take down the system. It's also nice to note that it's pretty cool to be able to use your actual mouse and keyboard as a mouse and keyboard to interact with the computers and keypads in the game. It definitely feels more immersive and not something a lot of games include. Hacking is a necessity if you want to break into your coworker's office and steal their money and power bars. I also had a holy shit moment when I was trying to hack a computer and I looked over and saw a post-it note with the password clearly visible stuck next to the screen. It was neat. Hacking has its own rewards and will let you get more XP, more money, and software that will help you hack in the future even more. And to be honest, if the half-man, half-machine head of security busted into my office and started stealing my shit right in front of me, I'd be inclined to let him. The sound in-game is mostly pleasant as well. While you're playing the game, and if you're old like me, keep your ears open, because you can catch some nice little nods to the first Deus Ex's soundtrack. Little sections of the first game soundtrack are hidden in Human Revolution's soundtrack and in-game world that you can hear every once in a while for a little hit of nostalgia.
Athena. She wants me to show her how to track our scientist-implanted locator devices, in case your security plans in Washington don't measure up.
They will.
Gentlemen, how wonderful to see you both. Go right in, Adam. He's waiting.
This is the newest in encrypted GPL trackers, Athena. It transmits data to our dedicated satellites every 10 feet.
I don't care what it takes. I want Hugh Darrow in Washington by my side.
The man doesn't jump for anyone. He's a Nobel Prize winner.
Senators love this guy, Lyle. The hearings will go much smoother with him there. Big day for us tomorrow.
One piece of music from the original soundtrack is used on some kind of raw radio show with a host who talks about conspiracies and what the government and large corporations are doing to fuck the little man over. Like that one friend at work that talks your ear off about how the airplane chemtrails are hiding aliens behind them. I cannot fucking stand these people. I'll be like, yeah, you know what? You're right. The earth is flat, motherfucker. I believe you. Will you please go away now? But sometimes that's the allure of conspiracy theories. Some do come true. I wonder how much does happen under our noses and we just go about our lives blissfully ignorant. The guns sound nice and chunky and are satisfying to use. The 10mm pistol is especially chunky sounding, and when it goes from dead silent exploration to a guard finding you and shooting at you, it can be a bit of a jump scare for me. The in-game conversations that you can overhear add a lot to the story of the game, and the conversations you have with NPCs can be quite in-depth and have branching paths. Some of the voice acting can be a bit off in tone here or there, but hey, it all can't be amazing, right? I mean, shit. A large portion of the dialogue is pretty good and delivered by talented voice actors. And thankfully, there's not a whole lot of reading for mission-critical information in-game, which is always nice. Kids these days will never know what it's like to have to read an entire fucking novel just to enjoy your game. As you explore the world, you'll find all kinds of ways to take in story content. The most useful items that give you password or suggest different routes for you to take for your objectives are pocket secretaries. They are the in-game world PDAs, which is strange because the game came out when smartphones were already a thing, and it just seems odd to me because not a single person I know would ever carry a PDA when they have a smartphone to keep their lives in order. Like, you're on the phone call and just be like, oh, hang on a minute, Bill, I gotta set our meeting up for tomorrow on my Palm Top. But I digress. The info that is passed on by these little devices can be crucial for completing objectives in the game. And let's be honest here, if you didn't end up crawling through a vent because you read in a janitor's PDA about a potential breach point, it just wouldn't be a Deus Ex game. On top of finding personal data assistants, you'll also come across e-readers in the world that will draw out even more information and lore for the game world. And reading those will also give you more XP when the Scholar prompt pops up on the screen, so keep your eyes open for them in your travels. Exploring the world of Deus Ex is fun all on its own. Just finding how many ways you can get into a place is fun. Well, for me it is. And seeing that XP Traveler bonus pop up on my screen is a nice dopamine hit. Not only does exploring get you a nice little chunk of XP points every once in a while, but the developers were nice enough to stash items and other things like pocket secretaries around the environment for you to find as well. There's also more than a few credit chips that you can find just leisurely breaking into someone's apartment, so keep an eye out for those little white cards. Another nice addition in Human Revolution is that your goals and side quests are shown on your heads-up display. In the first Deus Ex, I found myself lost or wandering the same area multiple times because I had no fucking idea where to go. Most of the time, I don't mind because I want to explore every inch of the game anyway, but for other players, this could be a frustrating block. The main story objectives are colored in yellow and the side quests blue. That's a nice touch because it helps you hit the side quests and not accidentally progress the story forward if you didn't want to. There's a plethora of augments to choose from, and I always go for a few of them just like straight away. I always spruce up my inventory first thing. That extra carrying capacity will be a huge help for your ammo stockpiles and gives you room for selling your extra shit at the vendors sprinkled around the maps. The default inventory fills up extremely fast. Another augmentation that I love is the no fall damage Icarus flight system. So if you fall off the top of a building, the system automatically activates on your way down, and you fall gently, like a dangerous, well-armed leaf. And, in my opinion, it's extremely important to upgrade those computer hacking skills ASAP. That skill lets you break into places and circumvent security devices like cameras and auto turrets. And it's pretty advisable to invest in hacking early on in the game to help make the game easier later on down the line. It's also advisable to upgrade your sprint capacity at some point. In the beginning of the game, you can run about 10 feet before you have to let your fatigue recharge, which is crazy because I'm an old fat bastard and I could flat out sprint longer and faster than old Adam Jensen over here. And you can eventually upgrade your jumps so that you can blast over fences and obstacles as well, which is a good feeling because when you begin the game, you can barely jump over a fucking box. You know, just so we can engage in the comments section here, what kind of augments would you want in real life? You know, I'm just asking for a friend over here. Anyway, one thing I love about life is variety, and Deus Ex definitely shelled out some variety in terms of environments and gameplay mechanics. I don't want to give off a false impression that every room and hallway is handcrafted by the developers, but thankfully you aren't limited to one location to spend all your time in and just stare at some ugly gray walls. Adam Jensen is a corporate spy, and he hits the skies and travels around the world quite a bit. I won't spoil you on where or why, but there's plenty to see in the game. And a side note here, I love that the security cameras have Big Bro emblazoned on the side of them. I just think it's funny. Anyways, while you're traveling through the game, be sure to keep an eye out for vendors to sell your unwanted items to. Then you turn around and buy Praxis kits at the Limb Clinic for those sweet, sweet upgrades. Like I was saying earlier, the dialogue in Deus Ex is pretty tip-top as well. Most of the time, the voice acting sounds natural, and responses and dialogue choices are believable. They do convey most of the time anyway, what I might say or ask in these situations. And the lore that is passed on in conversations will draw you in that much more into the game's world. Also, the voice actors that were chosen are pretty damn good. The voice actor for Adam Jensen, Elias Tefexis, oh God, I hope I'm saying that right, was a great pick, and his name would have been so much better than Adam Jensen, I'm just saying. Dude sounds like Clint Eastwood with much more bassy tone. He could narrate my life when I'm feeling pissed off, that's for sure.
So what am I looking for in O'Malley's apartment? Okay, what's this about getting into DRB territory? A cop dealing weapons to a criminal anti-hog gang? Not a pretty picture.
The IT manager for Seraph Industry, Pritchard, his voice actor was Andreas Aprigus? I don't know. Did an amazing job, but I fucking hate him now. Even though he has a Final Fantasy 27 poster in his office, but that's how you know the actor did their job good. They made you hate them, and they're probably a great person to know in real life. Like, there's this old movie I watched when I was a kid with Reese Witherspoon and Kiefer Sutherland called Freeway that made me hate Kiefer Sutherland for about an entire decade. I mean, hate him. But he did redeem himself in my mind when I saw him in The Cowboy Way later on in my life. So, talking with everyone in the world is pretty important, or at the very least a good idea. The NPCs can offer more than just some lore to expand the game world. Take, for example, the Thorpes. If you save the hostages in the first mission, you can talk to them later when you're exploring the city, and they will be grateful for what you did and give you info on another vendor in the city to sell your stuff to. So conversation in the game is a pretty crucial piece of gameplay. Although there's a hobo lady that will sell you information in the game, and she just does not look like a hobo to me, so that kind of ripped me out of the game world a little bit. Anyway, in closing, I love the entire Deus Ex saga, and I will always wholeheartedly recommend it, any of them. Human Revolution was great, and it has a permanent place on my shelf of games to keep. See you next time.